Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're stepping into the world of B.Pharm or M.Pharm, or honestly, if you're just incredibly curious about how experts learn to create life-saving medicines, you are in exactly the right spot. Today, we're putting together the ultimate guide to building your pharmaceutical sciences library. We're going to look at the exact books, the definitive texts that literally build a pharmacist's brain. So get ready, because this explainer is your roadmap to the absolute best resources in the field. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this roadmap. We're going to follow the logical journey of a pharmacist's education. So, first up, the human foundation. Then, part 2, discovering and synthesizing drugs. 3 is pharmacology and toxicology. And finally, number 4, mastering pharmaceutics.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the human foundation. We're talking anatomy, physiology, and pathophysiology.
Now, before you can even think about designing a drug to fix a problem, you absolutely have to understand the human canvas. It's kind of like being a mechanic, right? Step 1 is mastering normal body function. That's your anatomy and physiology. You need to know how the machine works when everything is humming along perfectly. And then, only then, can you move to Step 2, understanding altered health states, which is pathophysiology. Basically, you got to know exactly how the machine breaks before you can build the chemical tool to fix it. And for that starting point, we have the legendary Ross and Wilson book, Anatomy and Physiology in Health and Illness. The 14th edition by Ann Waugh and Allison Grant is the definitive, rockstar starting point of your journey. It lays out the beautiful complexity of the human body so clearly, it is an absolute must-have for your shelf.
Moving beyond the basics, you've also got Darasari and Gandhi's Elements, stepping into an incredible 37th edition for 2025. Just think about how many students that book has guided. Then, for pathophysiology, when things actually go wrong, you have a powerhouse lineup. We're talking Porth's 11th edition, McCanson-Heather's 9th edition, and Benasik's 8th edition. And hey, definitely look out for the brand new 11th edition of Robbins, Kotran, and Kumar coming in July 2025. That one is the absolute ultimate authority on understanding disease at a cellular level.
Moving right along to Section 2, discovering and synthesizing drugs. This covers pharmacognosy and pharmaceutical chemistry.
So, we know the body. Now, where do we actually find the cures? Historically, and even today, a lot of drugs come straight from natural sources, which is a field called pharmacognosy. Like, did you know the active ingredient in aspirin originally came from willow tree bark? Crazy, right? For this branch, you're looking at C.K. Kokate's text, which is hitting a monumental 60th edition in April 2026, along with classics like Treese and Evans' 16th edition and Prof. Muhammad Ali's work. We contrast that natural approach with organic chemistry, where we're literally synthesizing entirely new compounds from scratch in the lab.
And when we talk about synthetic creation, understanding that organic framework of pharmaceuticals, there is one name that stands loud and proud. Morrison and Boyd's Pharmaceutical Organic Chemistry, specifically the 4th edition. This book is the essential blueprint, guys. It teaches you how carbon-based molecules behave, which is literally the foundational language of almost every modern drug out there.
But organic chemistry is just one piece of the puzzle. The sheer breadth of the chemistry shelf is massive. For physical chemistry, you absolutely need Arun Ball, B.S. Ball, and G.D. Tully's Essentials of Physical Chemistry. Get this, it's in its 28th edition. That milestone alone tells you how crucial it is. Then you've got inorganic chemistry covered by Bloch, Roche, Soin, and Wilson, as well as Chatwal and Muhammad Ali. And finally, bringing the whole shebang together into practical drug design, you've got Professor Surendranath Pandya's massive 2-volume textbook of medicinal chemistry.
Of course, once you actually make a drug, you have to prove exactly what it is and how pure it is. You can't just guess. That's where analytical chemistry and spectroscopy come in. Your toolkit here includes R.M. Verma's 3rd edition, the famous 6th edition of Vogel's Quantitative Analysis, and Dr. S. Ravi Sankar's 5th edition. And to identify those compounds using light and radiation, you'll rely on Y.R. Sharma's 6th edition and the 8th edition of Silverstein's Spectrometric Identification. These are the books that ensure what you synthesized is actually correct and, more importantly, safe to use.
All right, that brings us to Section 3, Pharmacology and Toxicology. This is all about the interaction.
Okay, so we've got a pure, identified chemical, and we know how the body works. But what happens when that drug actually meets the human body? For pharmacology, Goodman and Gilman's The Pharmacological Basis of Therapeutics, specifically the 14th edition from 2023, is practically the Bible. Every advanced student and professional reveres this text. It's the absolute gold standard for understanding how therapeutics work.
Now, I'll be honest, Goodman and Gilman can be incredibly dense. It's heavy stuff. And that is exactly why almost every student leans on a beloved companion guide, K.D. Tripathi's Essentials of Medical Pharmacology. The 9th edition revised reprint is famous for taking those complex drug mechanisms and simplifying them. It breaks down that high-level science into bite-sized concepts that you can actually digest, remember for your exams, and use in the real world.
To round out the pharmacology shelf, you've got H.L. and K.K. Sharma's 4th edition and the fantastic 10th edition of Rang and Dale's. Oh, and if you are a visual learner, which a lot of us are, Karen Whalen's beautifully illustrated Lippincott Illustrated Reviews in its 8th edition is a total lifesaver. Finally, we can't forget the dark side of pharmacology, right? When drugs act as poisons. For that, Cazaret and Dahl's Toxicology in its 9th edition is your definitive guide to keeping patients safe.
Now for our final pillar, Section 4, Mastering Pharmaceutics, Designing the Final Product.
Look, you can't just hand a patient a pile of raw chemical powder. It doesn't work that way. You have to turn that active chemical into a safe, reliable, deliverable dosage form, like a tablet, a capsule, or an IV injection. To understand how to do this on a massive global scale, you need the heavyweight champion, Lachman and Lieberman's The Theory and Practice of Industrial Pharmacy. The 4th edition takes you out of the tiny lab and drops you right into those massive manufacturing plants. It teaches you how to produce literally millions of perfect, identical pills. But before you can mass-produce that tablet, you have to understand the physics behind it. Martin's Physical Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutical Sciences, which is currently in its 8th edition, is the crucial bridge between physical chemistry and actual drug formulation. It explains how drugs dissolve, how they stay stable on a shelf, and how they physically behave once they're in a dosage form. Absolutely vital stuff. So let's summarize the final texts that complete your pharmaceutics toolkit. For the everyday art of preparing prescriptions, you've got R.M. Mehta's Dispensing Pharmacy. For general foundational knowledge, Cooper & Gunn's 6th edition of Tutorial Pharmacy is essential. We also step into the modern era with Corey and Hulkeye's 3rd edition of Pharmaceutical Biotechnology, and then we lock down those design fundamentals with Dr. R. Balachander's Dosage Form Design.
Well, a huge thank you to all you focused learners out there for taking this library tour with me today on this explainer. If you found this breakdown helpful in mapping out your studies, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Honestly, it really helps us keep bringing you the best, most structured information out there. And I'll leave you with this final thought as you look over this incredible wealth of knowledge. Between mastering the human body, synthesizing brand new molecules, discovering how drugs interact, or engineering that final perfect pill, which pharmaceutical science subject are you most excited to dive into first? Grab that book, open to page 1, and start building your pharmacist's brain. See you next time.